mind just explaining what the setup is, like a line array or...
Yeah, it's a line array. And like I told you earlier, it's the EAW KF760.
Yeah.
With a KF761 underhang. Then side fills is the EAW KF730. Subs are the SP1000. Front fills are also the KF730.
Okay, so what does that actually mean? How does it move the sound, or what is this?
It's the actual speaker. So the KF760 is the biggest box EAW has at the moment.
Okay.
And then it works down to the speaker literally gets smaller.
All right.
That's the best way I can explain it.
Okay,
yeah.
Cool. That's perfect.
Yeah.
So how did you make the setup for the Coca-Cola Dome? How did you figure it out? Do you know the parameters of the room? Or?
We found the parameters of the room, and then we have a program called Resolution.
Okay, cool.
Then we had to build the venue in Resolution, and then just start messing around with different configurations and see.
Okay, great, yeah. Cool, man.
Yeah.
That's awesome. All right.
Every speaker in the line array
it's
got like a 6-degree splay, so that's how much it projects. It gives you 6 degrees of audio.
Okay, cool.
Now we just had to find a way of pinning it together to make it consistent. So it's got different fly points. So there'll be...
What's a fly point?
It's where the speaker hangs to the other speaker.
All right, okay, cool.
So there's different holes on the front of the speaker and the back of the speaker, with like an adjustable arm.
Okay.
And then that's your fly point. So if you want X amount of degrees, then you'll have to have the front there and the back there so you can move it around.
Okay, cool.
I don't know how else to
No, that's pretty good. Thank you. Yeah.
And that's pretty much how it works. So you start just with a flying frame, and then you lift the flying frame up and just start putting the speakers on.
Okay,
that's
cool.
the process.
And then does it take manpower to put it up, or do you have like an electrical crank or something?
Motor,
yeah, because
I think I've got the load rating, but I think it's about 1.2 tons.
Wow.
So you'd have a horizontal of say now 60,
yeah,
and then a vertical of 40, and that was fixed. So that's what our old speaker was. It would cover that much by that much.
Okay, yeah.
And that's where the line array came in. It's like 120, but by 6. So then you just start building boxes to build your display up so that you can project.
Yeah, that's awesome.
So what we're deliberating at the moment is our PA is hanging very wide on the main PA. So we've got about 20 meters between the main PA.
All right.
So that means that there's going to be a dead spot in the center down at the bottom. So we're going to put speakers either on top of the stage or in front of the stage that are called lip fills. So that's their terminology.
Okay.
So now the question is, do we put them on top of the stage or in front of the stage? Now, producers normally have a preference. If it's going to be on top of the stage, it's going to create a messy scenario on stage. You're going to see speakers where sometimes they want a clean atmosphere on stage. So then you have to create stands or use fly cases or subwoofers to put the lip fills right in front of the stage. So,
and what is the sound difference? Is there really much of an impact?
What you're creating is, with your main PA being so high up, the sound is resonating from the top.
Yeah.
You get the dead spot in the center. When you have sound coming from the stage, your image shifts down.
Yeah.
So if someone's singing, it sounds like they're closer to the stage as opposed to singing from the roof. The sound difference between on stage and off stage, there's no real big difference.
I mean, it's not really far.
The loudspeakers we're using has got 110 horizontal dispersion and a 15-degree vertical. So you're firing literally just about 10-15 meters just to cover the front seats.
Okay, cool.
Yeah. So that's what we're trying to decide now, but there's still a lot to happen before we get to that decision.
Yeah, it's mostly just a aesthetic thing.
Greg just asked if this is a seated venue. Yes, the whole venue is seated.
Because then maybe not the stage.
Yeah, that makes a big difference though, yeah. Because the 730, the angle of the box you're going to be throwing up. So the lower you are, the more you're getting the seated area. But if it's like an R&B gig, they're most likely going to end up standing up. But that stage is about 1.8 meters high, so that's above most people's heads. So we'll probably below stage.
Because Jill's got a lot of mellow music, Jill Scott.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's like poetry.
Okay, so it's going to be a seated chill event.
More, yeah.
Okay, so there we go in front of the stage.
had a really awesome day here with Surgesound, working on an event with them, well, setting up for the sound. It's really cool. I mean, these things are heavy, these speakers, and the way that they hoist them up into the ceiling with these cables, it's quite an art, and it's really fun to see. You also get a better understanding of how sound travels in a space and how much actually goes into preparing a room or for an event, or especially for a concert. And it's awesome because the actual shape of the room changes things, changes the whole dynamic of the sound and how it travels. If you imagine, for example, have a bowl and it's filled with water, and if you drop a pebble into it in the middle, the sound waves will ripple out like that. Now imagine if you have really reflective surfaces, and I have to put angled pieces of steel or something in there. The sound waves would bounce off of all those panels and go in all different directions. So you wouldn't have a pure wave, you would have reflective surfaces bouncing all over the place. So that's kind of how you can manipulate sound, and it's not really what you want in an event. You want the sound to be pure. You want the sound waves to travel easily to people. You want it to go from front of stage over the audience and still be heard at the back as well. And these guys work with programs to figure out what the best mathematical situation is for the sound to travel. And the event has also prepared to create better sound by putting up sound panels all around, which I showed you in that bed, and they're all over the place to try and eliminate echoes, or what we call reverb, where the sound bounces back to the audience and you get this like double sound, whoa, you know. So the way that they place the speakers is very important so that everybody in the audience gets the right sound, and also depends if the audience, as you heard, is standing or seated, and if the sound needs to flow lower down or higher up. And then they also try and move the echo or the reverb above the audience so that it doesn't even affect them at all. So imagine if you're up in the roof of a place, you'd be hearing some really crazy sound, because all of the bad sound or the reverb or the echoes travels upwards in some instances. So I hope that this video helps you understand what... Now, did you hear all that sound travel in here? Imagine you have a guitar, electric guitar, and you've got to work with that. So that's what it sounds like beforehand, and then you get it to sound perfect afterwards. So it is really quite an art. Thanks, guys.